Alright, in this video we're going to assemble the XMARK 220-pound single stack functional trainer that has a lat pull and a low row pulleys, seat. We're going to route the cable. I'm going to show you some mistakes that I make sometimes. Alright, so let's get going. This is what you will get when in your driveway, one big old crate. All right, let's unload it and see what we got. All right, I went on and unboxed everything, got all the plastic and cardboard and everything, and laid it out. If you have enough room, I really suggest doing this. It's a lot easier to work without tripping over everything. But here's your bolt pack right here. You got one. This will be just for your seat and your shroud. There's another bolt pack that comes with it right there, and that's going to be for the lat part. All of your accessories, all your bars are included. I went on and opened up the boxes. They come in, like the weights come in different boxes, but I went on and opened them up and I applied all the stickers to it already because that's just one thing I wanted to get out of the way. But yeah, this it looks a little intimidating, but it's not as bad as it looks. So let's go ahead and move on to step one. All right, before moving on to step one, I wanted to show you that you will have 6 130 millimeters, and you will have 9 120 millimeter bolts. These things are huge. I mean, they're pretty massive. They use a 36 millimeter wrench, which these things are included. We include a pair of those for you. I've done this a bunch. I do a lot of these, so I get to use this bad boy. If you have one, I suggest it. 2 of the 120s do not have nuts, and they have a little lock washer there. Can you see that? That's because they will go directly into the upper cross member. Let's see if I can. So you see the upper cross member here is threaded, so both of those will go in there. All right, here's your initial layout. This will be the front. You have your front foot there with 2 130 millimeter bolts. All right, I swear, about 90% of the time, I forget to add this piece on whenever I'm putting the frame. So like whenever it was down on the ground earlier, we should have put this on. So stop what you're doing now and put this on before you forget. But on a side note, if you do want, but instead of taking this whole thing apart to slide this over slide it over the upright, I just took this apart and put it together. But if you want to, for some reason, have your knob and handle on the left side, you can do that. You can disassemble this and flip it around, but you also want to make sure that this upper pulley is on top. You can see how there's one sort of in the middle, and then there's one higher. It needs to be facing up. You have your front foot there with 2 130 millimeter bolts. Here's the rear with 2 120 millimeter bolts. Anytime you have 2 plates, it'll use a 130 and the rest are 120. Your bottom cross member here, you just want to note that this pulley goes towards the rear. And at the top, we have those bolts with the 2 lock washers. They're going to fit in the top hole and mount into your top cross member. On the top cross member, this large slot, it will go towards the rear. Let's see if you can, yeah, you can kind of see there maybe. But this slot faces the rear. And then there's your other bolt with the lock nut or lock washer. That's it. I'm going to go ahead and assemble this up and go on to the next step. And I've got them pretty tight. They're still a little loose. I'm going to wait and really tighten them down after it's standing up. See, there's still a little slack in there. Putting it on the floor, it's kind of at an angle. So I want to make sure that I get it standing up, maybe put the weights on it, and then have it really settled where it's straight before I really wrench tighten them down. All right, I'm going to go ahead and do the lat part. It's got two sides, 6 pulleys. The pulleys will go in each one of these little areas here, and above that you'll see an extra hole, and that's where these 6 bushings will go. And they'll be connected by these bolts, washers, and nuts. I'm going to go ahead and assemble this because it's pretty heavy, and then I'm going to come over, and while I have this on the ground, I'm going to go ahead and assemble it to the top. I'm trying to do as much of this as I can by myself, but I will need somebody to probably help me lift it and then kind of balance it while I put the support legs on later. Yeah, those will be the next, but let's go ahead and get the lat together. Okay, that's assembled. Everything is still hand tightened. I haven't tightened down on it yet, because if you tighten it down now, the pieces here, they won't go around your cross member at the top. So just keep it. I will use the included 16mm wrenches to kind of get some of the slack out, but I will keep it a little loose and tighten it up when we're done. Something that's good to show is that later we will be routing the cable, and you want your cable, so if I can show you, you want it running underneath all of these. You can see down in there maybe all of these spacers. Make sure your cable is running underneath those and not over the top. I've made that mistake more than once actually, so just be aware of that. All right, I'm going to go kind of, like I said, I'm going to tighten them down a little bit more to get rid of some of the slack, and then I'm going to go add it to our piece here. All right, when you're assembling the lat attachment, you want to make sure, you may want to put something down like a towel or a cardboard so you don't scratch it up or anything, but you don't want to go into this first hole in the upright. You want to go match that up to the first hole, the cross member, and the other two will line up. Okay, we got it standing up now. And while I have some help, definitely make sure you get a buddy to help you stand it. We went on and assembled the 2 side supports. They use the 130mm bolts. There's 4 of them. Should be the last of them. I still don't have everything tightened down. I'm going to wait until I get the weight stack on. All right, now we're going to assemble the guide rods. One side is threaded, as you can see there. It has threads. That will be facing up. That'll be the top side. And you just want to put your rubber bushing down over the holes. You can see there's a hole there. Put your rubber bushing down over that. And then you're going to slide. See if I can do this while holding the camera. There we go. Yep, and just slide it in the hole. All right, both guide rods are in. And now we're just gonna get our plates and put them on. All right, we got the leftover bolts from the lat up there, and we have this guide rod attachment plate. The top side will have little beveled sections. So this side they're flat, this side they're bevel, and they will go on top of the guide rods and attach there. All right, we got both of those screws attached to our guide rods here. So you'll notice there's a little gap in between. There's a little space. It doesn't quite fit. That's because the guide rods are sunk down. You'll just need to pull up on the guide rods. You're going to use the 2 remaining bolts to attach attach it here and here. All right, all the weights have been added. Guide rods are fully attached. And now I'm gonna go and tighten down everything. So right now it's pretty much set the way it's gonna be. All right, we're gonna do the cables now. And before I do anything, I like to unravel them and kind of stretch them out as far as I can. If you can, maybe go out in your driveway or down the hallway or something, and it just kind of gets them untwisted from the packaging. All right, next up, we're going to add our top plate pulley. I like to leave the jam nut kind of towards the bottom, but enough to where you never have to worry about it unthreading and coming loose. And this is because there's two places you can adjust cable tension, here and then here at the handle. And once you get the cable on, this thing is just, you can't spin it. So it's best to leave this out as far as you can and adjust up here later if needed. So you just want to put on your pin and then just screw on your pulley. All right, we're going to do some cables now. First cable we'll do is the lat pull cable. It's the shortest of the two cables, and we're gonna need to take these off. I'll show you how to do that in a second. But basically, the lat pull cable will attach one end to this pulley, and it'll be hanging here, and it will come up through this slot over that back pulley there, all the way to the front, and it will hang there. All right, we got our pulley connected. Our cable is up and over, out to the front, and I've reattached the end. All right, now we're gonna do the long pulley. This one can be a little tricky in spots. You wanna go ahead and attach your jam nuts. Again, I left a little space. We can always unscrew this down and tighten this up if there's a little slack in the cable later. But for now, we wanna leave it adjusted like this. And then we're gonna go down and down and up and over and over. And I'll probably just make an animation to make it easier for you. So, all right, you want to make sure you put this underneath that spacer. It can be a little tricky at first. Where are you? There it is. And then you want to put it under the next spacer. All right. Go ahead and pull you some slack. This is a stick with tape on it. Yeah, it's a nice little trick. Just kind of wrap your cable like that. And then I'm going to stick it through this hole here. Run it down the bottom, top plate pulley. Taper back up. Your hole. There you go. And again, I know I keep repeating myself, but make sure it runs underneath those spacers. All right, once the cable's all the way done, the last step is to feed it through your pulleys. All right, the first step for the seat, we're gonna put the leg holder bracket down into its home here. You'll have to pull this out to get it to go down. All right, next we're going to assemble the seat pad. There's a seam on your seat. You want to make sure that's facing inside. All right, I actually found it was easier to go ahead and assemble it or attach it to the rack, and that way I could get under and screw the pad on instead of trying to balance it. All right, we're going to start off by feeding pipe through one side and then attaching. There's two of them. You can see one has a large hole. These go on the inside, and the small holes, they go on the end cap. And then snug it all the way down, put on the inner cap, like that. Slide that through, inner cap, just pretty easy. All right, install the foot plate, which basically just slides in and that pin locks it in place. Okay, to assemble the shroud, we're going to use these. There's 8 of these, 2 there, 2 there, and then they match at the top. We're going to use those brackets right there and the round head screws to mount those. Don't really tighten them down too much, because we may need to wiggle it a little bit to get the shroud to fit properly. All right, you can see how they're attached. The little bracket points, they go out, not in. Make sure you do that. But yeah, use the bolt and the washer, and there's 8 of them. The shroud will fit depending on what side you want it. You know, of course you want it the opposite of your weight stack. Will fit in this middle groove. There you will see 2 holes here, but you're only going to use one of them. So we're going to have our shroud on the other side. So we will be using this threaded hole here, and our shroud will fit in this little slot and come out and bolt there. All right, I mounted the shroud with the bolts and washers. You can see how it fits in that groove. Yeah, top. There's 4 of those. They can be a little tricky, and you kind of have to lift the shroud up a little bit sometimes. But that's it. All right, you want to make sure that when you have the pin out completely, that your top plate here is resting. If it's raised up slightly, it means your cable's too tight, and you'll want to go and adjust your gem nut here. But since we left enough slack, we could probably loosen this up. Let's see here, and start to tighten it in, and we could watch that plate come up. But that's about perfect. I can feel it. Tension's tightened. Tighten that up, and we are done.